Momentum recalibration. Now you have to understand that when you guys are riding that wave towards your goal and you're stacking up your daily wins, your momentum in the direction of achieving what the fuck you need, well, you have to understand that when you gain momentum at such a rapid level, you will burn out. Now, I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but the ones who follow me on Instagram know that, while we were riding the wave, we, burnt out, and, we had a day where, since we didn't reset and recalibrate ourselves, the world did it for us. Now, what does that mean? When we burnt out, we threw up 8 times in one day. This is when we were hitting the 3 times a day, everyday workout, still hitting the 3 a.m. wake up, still hitting the macro count. And so we have to truly understand that, at that level, when you have to throw up 8 times in one day, because you've been stacking your wins, and the 3 times a day everyday workout, no matter what the fuck is in our daily schedule, we never make an excuse. We have to understand that when you stack up and compound your wins to such a ferocious fucking level, and you input the maximum into yourself all the fucking time, well, you have to understand that you need to energetically recalibrate your mind to be in a more tranquil mental state, because you have to understand that the momentum, this is spiking up your cortisol. Your body is adapting, like literally your hormone, your system, your, nervous system is recalibrating for maximum output. And so when you are stacking your daily wins, when you are moving in the right direction, and you are riding that high frequency bandwidth to your fucking goals, you have to understand that you need to recalibrate. If you don't recalibrate, the world will recalibrate you. And so we have to truly understand that, your mental bandwidth, it's going to hit thresholds. And I want you to imagine an energy expenditure when you're riding the wave at the top of the energy expenditure and you're steadily pushing that threshold, you will burn out. And so what the recalibration is doing is setting a new energy expenditure threshold. And so when you cap out your threshold, you recalibrate, and then you attain a new level of what the fuck to get done in your life. And so if you don't set that, threshold for yourself, if you don't recalibrate instinctively, if you get the impulse to intuitively, recalibrate and, put yourself in a position where you are not operating in the maximum of mental, capacity, or, in the most deepest of mental states, without recalibration, you will crash out, you will burn out, and you don't want to end up throwing up 8 times in a day because you just kept pushing, you kept moving past the bandwidth. You have to understand that when you reach that energetic capacity and you push the roof of the energy capacity, you have to understand that you will burn out. And when your energy is so far operating from its roof, from its fucking recalibration center, you're going to be fucked. And, whatever is going to set you down, you're not going to recalibrate right by the top again and, attain the next level by breaking through the glass ceiling. No, you're going to reset down here because you're going to have a forced stoppage. When you push your car so far beyond its capacity, for, speed, that car is going to be fucked if you keep doing that. If you every day wake up and push your vehicle beyond its capacity, aka your body and mind, aka yourself, you are going to burn the fuck out. And this is why we have to recalibrate, and we have to intuitively sense, and we have to be aware to ourselves and how we feel internally, and what our internal state is predicating and necessitating in our life. Because you have to understand that once you start hitting levels of just brutality and just mental being in your being, you have to understand that it's time to recalibrate. And when you get to certain levels of personal development, everything becomes a fucking test. When you become so developed in yourself, everything becomes a fucking test, because now you are aware of more. I mean, it gets to levels where you are aware of the other people's unconscious around you, and you have to be aware of the energy around you, and that energy is mediocre, poor, and we want to stay the fuck away from it. But sometimes we just have to endure. And so when your energy capacity is on maximum bandwidth, I mean, the type ready to drop a weight on someone's head because, they're being fucking weird, orbiting, we have to get to that level where we can recalibrate and we can, get into a grounded state, a mindful, peaceful state within ourselves, to let go of the projections that people send our way, to let go of the glares and snares that people send our way. You have to understand that the projections, these shits, they compound, and it's like a fucking bomb. And so if you're not going to defuse the bomb by, defusing yourself, you have to understand that that's going to explode, and, the wrong snare is going to catch the wrong fucking channel of energy. And that channel of energy that they caught was from the 10 other stairs and snares from the 10 other fucking people orbiting your existence. And so we have to truly understand and comprehend the velocity of what recalibration is for your mind. All these people, they don't do shit for their life to be in a certain specific, stress. You have to understand that there's a difference from living in survival and being stressed out about nothing, and genuinely being stressed about the ability and the capacity of yourself and what you have to channel into your own life. And so a lot of people, they live in their imagination. They create these imaginary fears and cadences because, they're fucking stupid. But when you operate from level of self-development, now you're actually, you're not just, imaginary, bro. And then you have people orbiting and shit. And this is the shit that I'm talking about. Anyways, these people, they operate from a level of stress. They create stressful, situations for themselves. When something doesn't stress you the fuck out, but you make it stress you the fuck out, it's you creating an imaginary, event for yourself to be stressed the fuck out. And you do that unconsciously because you're fucking stupid. But when you're stressing about your ability to pull something off, when you have only a few hours in the day, but you still have to do specific things, when your schedule is so fucking full, but you still pull off what the fuck you need to do, that is what the fuck stress is. Not this imaginary bullshit that you create just to distort yourself in life. You have to understand that all these people, they're operating from comfort. They don't know shit. You have to understand that it's all about building your capacity. And if you're going to maximize your capacity as an individual, if you're going to grow into an individual who can pull off whatever the fuck, whenever the fuck, well, you're going to need to recalibrate your mental state into a tranquil state, and you're going to have to break through another glass ceiling. And so when you're operating from the edge of the glass ceiling about to break through, this is when you recalibrate, because if you shatter that glass while in the same capacity of ability, you're gonna be fucking tweaking. You're gonna be stressed out. You're gonna be on a different level of burnt out, especially when you compound that momentum daily. Especially when every day you wake up and compound your existential quality by redefining and refining your internal states to redefine a better reality or external fucking goal, whatever you're trying to achieve. And so, yes, the momentum, you ride the wave to the top, and when you hit the top, this is where you hit the energetic ceiling. And when you hit the energetic ceiling, this is where you recalibrate into another wave. You recalibrate into a higher wave. When you guys ride the wave, you compound and you compound, but then you forget to recalibrate, and now you're all fucking crashing out, and now you're all stressed out. Now you're throwing up 8 times in one day. This is not the way you have to go about it. You recalibrate, you find out something that is relaxing. This doesn't, deflect the responsibility and the tasks that you need to do for the day. You still make your content. You still hit the everyday fucking workout, and you still count the macros. But what you're going to do for the few hours that you need to ground yourself, you do that. And whatever the fuck it is, you do. And most of you guys, you think that playing a video game or smoking some weed is what's going to save you from the stress of life. But really, all you're doing is just trying to escape your reality and escape yourself because you're a low-level fuck. So something that is grounding you is something that can bring all the unconscious or subconscious, cadences, or, the projections, or whatever the fuck's in the back of your mind making you agitated in your daily existence. What is grounding you is something that is going to make these things float to the conscious mind. What is going to let the heavy, dense fog in your mental space, in your mental fucking, area, float to the top of your conscious mind. And so that's what grounding is. Grounding is not smoking weed and escaping your reality. Grounding is not going to the bar with your friends and having a good time, aka passively killing yourself and poisoning yourself with a fucking bottle because you're too fucking stupid to realize that you're a delirious fucking primate failing at being an ape. If the ape is sober and fit and you're not sober and fit as a fucking human, you're inferior to the ape on a universal fucking evaluation. If the ape standard is higher than yours because it doesn't need a bottle to poison yourself, but you're a human over here with billions of fucking neurons passively poisoning yourself with a big ass smile on your face, just know that, all the density in the fog in your unconscious mind, since you're not letting that surface and grounding yourself, by actually consciously experiencing what the fuck is stressing you out, well, that shit is going to manifest out of you as you passively killing yourself with a fucking bottle. So do yourself a favor and confront that bitch instead of project and neglect the responsibility of grounding yourself and being conscious of what the fuck you don't want to be aware of. What the fuck you don't want to be aware of is what you're supposed to be aware of to level up. When you look in the mirror and realize you're a fat fuck, well, you have to be aware of the fact you're a fat fuck to lose the weight. If you don't want to realize the fact you're an addicted fuck, well, you have to understand that you not being aware to the fact you're an addicted fuck is going to keep you an addicted fuck. And so you need to get the fuck aware of what you don't want to be aware of. And what the fuck you don't want to be aware of is everything that is keeping you a low quality piece of shit. But the moment you're aware of what's keeping you a low quality piece of shit, you now have you have now the awareness to attack that head on. Most of you guys are playing defense against what the fuck is keeping you a low quality piece of shit. And this is why you're insecure and a low level fuck. It's because you're trying to dodge what the fuck is keeping you a low level fuck. But the real ones will look in the mirror and just attack it straight on. That's the difference between a mediocre piece of shit and a formidable fucking savage who wakes up every day, compounds his development, rides the waves in the momentum, recalibrates, and then breaks the glass ceiling again on a fucking endless cycle until he hits the fucking casket. It's that fucking simple.